Hey everybody, so in today's video I'm going to do a review of my Shoei Photochromic Transitions shield. So I've had the transition shield for over a year now, and I did say a year ago when I did the initial video on it that just really showed the actual real-time transition from clear to dark and then dark to clear, that I would post an updated review once I had owned the shield for a while, so that it was a little bit more of an accurate kind of roundup of my impressions of the shield to date. So I believe I purchased the shield last May, and given that I have had it for about 15,000 kilometers of ride time now, I think that's pretty good amount of time to be able to do a pretty thorough review of the shield. Now, keeping in mind that everybody's going to have a bit of a different impression on it depending on what their needs and what their wants were for it. And before I bought the shield, I really made sure I kind of did a checklist to ensure that it met all of my needs and everything that I really wanted it for. Now, based on my purchase, this cost that I'm going to outline for you for the shield is a Canadian price. In the States, you're going to find that the shield actually runs probably $50 or maybe even a little bit more cheaper than it is up in Canada. So I purchased my shield online from one of the major online motorcycle retailers, and that was Canada's Motorcycles, which is now Fort 9. And when I purchased my shield, it was about $220, I believe, and I just looked now to see what the availability and pricing was of it in Canada, and it's at about $230 Canadian, and it is listed as available as of last week. And I also did go and have a look at Rev'It, another major online retailer in the US, and the shield there is running for approximately $170 US. So it definitely is a bit of a pricier option. However, I am going to say that for me, the price was worth it. It does kind of decrease my rating of the shield though, just because of the cost. However, I would buy another one again if I had to get another one. That's how much I like it. So I'll start off right away. I pretty much gave the shield a solid, I'm going to say a 4 to a 4.5 stars out of 5. And the reason that I don't give it a 5 out of 5, like I said, is definitely it's a little bit pricier than what I would like to pay for it. And the other thing is I do find that the transition from dark to clear is a little bit slower than I would like. I did know that though, and so I'll talk about that right away. That is part of the transitions technology. So the Shoei Photochromic shield utilizes the exact same transitions technology as the transitions that you would find in a pair of glasses. So it is exactly the same, and those of you that know what that's like do know that it does darken up pretty darn quickly, but it does not clear up as quickly as it darkens, which is too bad. But all in all, that is kind of part of the toss-up of what happens when you get something with transitions technology. So that's pretty much my impressions of it. For it to go from light to dark, it is from clear to dark, sorry, it happens pretty much almost instantaneously. And if you have the shield in a clear, like indoor environment, and then you bring it outside, I find that it actually darkens up almost right away. However, it doesn't get to its fullest darkness it takes about 2 minutes for that to happen, but it's definitely dark enough right off the bat to be able to ride around and not have to put sunglasses on. It does, like I said, take a little bit more time to go from the dark to the clear. So what happens with that is when you go from a brightly lit area like outside into, let's say, a tunnel or indoors, it will not transition to clear quite as quickly as it would from clear to dark. So I do have the video that shows this last year that I did, and I will post the link on my end screen annotation so that you can go have a look if you like, but really it takes a good 2 minutes for it to clear up. Now, a lot of people say that for them that's a little bit of an issue because they don't like to have something that, for example, if they're riding through tunnels, that they would have to flip their visor up. And that's, again, a personal preference kind of thing. For me, I don't find it to be much of an issue. Yeah, it doesn't clear up if you hit a tunnel, but on the same note, it's okay for me. I kind of equate it to the same thing as wearing a pair of sunglasses. So those of you that have driven through tunnels, then you know that sometimes you need to take your sunglasses off if it's a really dark tunnel, but other times you can actually leave them on and still get by quite nicely. So that's going to be something that's up to you as an individual. I do not find that it is an issue at all. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about here, so I've talked about how long it takes for the dark to clear, the clear to dark, and the next thing I would like to talk about in reference to that is a lot of people ask if temperature is going to have a big influence on the transition, and I do find that it does definitely make a little bit of a difference. However, when I bought the Shield, I was a little reluctant that I thought it wouldn't work that well, and part of the reason I say that is because I am from North Central British Columbia, and those of you that know our region know that it's pretty cold here, and even in the summer our highest temps is pretty unusual to get above 30 degrees Celsius, and that's really lucky. So for the most part, our average summer temperatures hover around, you know, the low 20s Celsius, but I do ride well into fall and early in spring. So for me, I have used this Shield in temperatures of about 4 degrees Celsius, and that's pretty cool. And I really did not think that the transition would work, but it absolutely does. So provided that there's enough light, it will still darken even in cooler temperatures. Now the thing is it may not darken as much in those cooler temperatures as it would if it was really bright and really warm outside. So that's the difference right there, but it will still darken. So as an example, today, right now it's about 12 degrees Celsius, and it's definitely overcast. The sun is not shining really brightly. It's covered up with a lot of clouds, and you can see this is the darkness that it is. So it's pretty dark. You can't really see through it at all. I would say that the Shield ends up being about a dark smoke. And a lot of people do ask, well, how dark is that dark smoke? And anybody here who has gotten a Shield that's tinted to a darker color, it's definitely about as dark as that. I would say that the darkening tone on it is a little bit warmer than what you might find on a tinted Shield though, but it's definitely dark enough for me. Again, there have been some reports of some people say that it's not dark enough for them when the sun is out very, very brightly. And I honestly, again, I have not experienced that same concern. And I find that if it is very, very, very sunny and very, very bright out, the Shield is definitely dark enough for me. So that's my own personal impression on it. So the next thing I'm going to talk about a little bit is, let's see, the care of the Shield. I do have a list because I kept forgetting some certain little aspects. I've tried to do this a few times now. The care of the Shield is a non-issue, and you don't need to treat it any differently than any of your other Shields, I would say, when you're washing it. So I just use, you know, mild soapy water, and I air dry it. And one thing that you do need to be aware of in the care of this Shield though is that you do need to keep it covered up indoors when it's not in use, especially if you've got it in a room that's got, you know, like windows and whatnot. Now, I personally have not done that, and my Shield, I've had it, like I said, for over a year. I've ridden about 15,000 clicks with it now, and quite frankly, I have not found that it has degraded at all. So that kind of takes us to the next topic, which is how quickly does the shield degrade? Honestly, I have not found that to be an issue. I have not noticed a degradation at all of my transition shield. Whether it gets darker any slower, maybe it does, but if it does, it's very, 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 very minor. So I've not noticed that after about a year of having it. And I did not keep it covered up all that well. I will not lie, when I'm not using it, it sits in my laundry room, which has lots of windows, and I probably should start covering it up. I know, so I probably will start doing that. But they do recommend, if you want to prolong the life of your shield, that you should actually keep it covered up when it's not in use. So definitely keep that in mind. The next thing is the durability of the shield. I have not noticed that this shield scratches any easier than any other shield that I've ever owned. One thing I do say about it is it's the exact same thing to me as a tinted shield, and I don't think that I have babied it any more than I have any of my other shields. So I have not found that to be an issue at all. Next thing on the list is going to be the use of the pin lock with the shield. That's a pretty hot topic. Now, anybody who follows some of my videos, you know I absolutely love my pin lock. I adore my pin lock. I can't imagine going without a pin lock unless they come up with something better. But I did also want to make sure that this transition shield does work with a pin lock. I've got the pin lock in right now, and the pin lock that I used is actually the one that came with the original shield with my Shoei RF1200 helmet. And so the shield itself, if you get the transition shield and you put just the clear pin lock on it, it will be totally fine. That is exactly what I did, and it will fit absolutely perfectly. So on that note, unfortunately, Shoei only has this shield to fit 2 helmets, and that is the RF SR and the RF 1200. So at this time, those are the only 2 shields that you can get the transitions visor for. Thanks, buddy. Make sure you double check there. And so the next thing on the list that I probably am going to talk about is how long does the shield last? Now, it's a pretty new technology, so it's not like it's lasted me more than a year. And there are some people that have had it for over a year and they're still reporting that they're very happy with it. Again, it's kind of like a set of glasses. So if you take good care of it, it should last you for many, many years. Now, the other little tidbit that's kind of good about this shield is they do say that it does block out all the UV rays. So that's something that's a little bit helpful for anybody here who's concerned about that. So then the last thing that I did want to mention that quite a few people have actually been sending me messages and asking about this is, can you use this shield at night? Now, I will be honest and say that I have, and I have found that it has been okay. It's fine. It's not like I'm driving around with a tinted shield at night, because it does clear up. And it does have the pin lock on it as well. So for me, I have used it at night, and that's not been on a really dark highway though. That's been, you know, a semi-dark, just basically a boulevard, a highway in the city and within town where there's some lights, and it's not been an issue. They do advise that you might find that there's a bit of distortion, especially if you're using the pin lock, because as you know, if you have a pin lock and you're riding around at night, that can cause a little bit of distortion with the light glare and that type of thing. Another interesting question that has come up is, can you still wear sunglasses if you have your transition shield on? Well, you could. I actually tried it because a couple people did ask that question. So I did try putting a pair of sunglasses on and using the transition shield, and it worked. I mean, if you're looking through the transition shield, it's not like wearing a super dark pair of sunglasses. So with my sunglasses and the transition shield, I did not find it was too dark. However, it's kind of the point of getting a transition shield so you don't have to worry about wearing your sunglasses and swapping out your shields and that kind of thing. So that's pretty much my overall impression. I do hope it was helpful. If there's any questions on here that I did not answer and you're curious about because you're thinking of maybe getting a transition shield, then by all means, please put it in the comments down below. You're also welcome to shoot me an email, canadianmotogal@gmail.com, and send me a YouTube message. Do whatever works. I'll try to do my best to answer. I hope I can help you out, because really it's so nice when you want to buy a product but you're just not really sure if it's the one for you, and there's somebody that's had it for a while who can answer some of your questions. So please do let me know, and I'm happy to help out if I can. And hopefully you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please don't forget to go ahead, give me a thumbs up, and you can certainly subscribe and share as well.